Hello and welcome to the Guitar Repair channel. Today's tutorial is about something that every guitarist who has a Floyd Rose guitar needs to know how to do. It's about simple restringing. Now guys, this video it's just for absolute beginners or somebody who's really confused with their Floyd Rose Special or a Floyd Rose Tremolo. This is not aimed towards people who already know what they're doing. So this is for all you beginners out there. So the guitar I have today is the Dean C350 FM. This is the same guitar that you've seen in the other video where the saddles were replaced. I literally haven't changed the strings since that time. So it's been a long time and I play this guitar very often. And right now the strings are seeming very dull and lifeless. So my guitar right now is properly set up. I've done truss rod adjustments, I've done intonation already. So I'm not going to teach you any of those things. Maybe we'll cover that in a separate video. But just to give you a bit of a background on what I'm using currently. So these are Diodarios 942 strings, and I have a fresh set which I'll be using. So that's one of the first things you have to remember. Try and keep the string gauge the same. It'll make your life a lot easier, and it'll make also string changes and setting up your guitar very easy and efficient rather. Let's head over to the workplace where I will show you close-ups of how I'm doing things along with some general running commentary in the background. Now these are few of the things that you will need in order to change strings on your Floyd Rose guitar. You need a tuner. I've got a clip-on tuner here. You need the right kind of Allen keys. The common one used is this one. You will need this. These I may not need, but I'm just keeping them anyway. You need a string winder. I use a bit of machine oil to lubricate the tremolo every time I change strings. Usually don't change strings very regularly, so the oil is something I use every time I change strings, just because I do it once in 6 months or something like that. I've got it poured into this bowl, and I've got an old toothbrush. I can use this to clean the tremolo. I've got a couple of specialist guitar maintenance products as well by Dunlop. Now this is Fretboard oil, Dunlop 65, lemon oil for the rosewood fretboards, and I also have a guitar polish and cleaner. That is just to clean the body and headstock and things like that. Gives a nice shine. All right, looks very slick actually. So these are some things, the tools that you need to do the job well. So the first thing is to loosen the locking nut on your guitar. Just take it out for now. Normally if I'm making some small adjustments in tuning on the guitar, then I'll just loosen it. I'll not remove them like this. But since we're doing a full cleanup job also, there's a lot of dirt on the rosewood fretboard. I can see it here. Lots and lots of dirt. So I've gotten stuck. This is where the string winder really helps. It makes your job much more faster. Basically detune. You see the Floyd Rose has dipped now. It's completely out of tension, right? Now what I normally do is I just cut the strings here and let the Floyd fall back. That's fine. It's not a big deal for me. The only thing is you'll have to retune it many times. That's one of the sad parts about a Floyd Rose, that you have to retune and retune and retune till you get it right. And that's where many people feel very frustrated. So one thing that many other people on the internet also suggest is to sort of block your Floyd a little bit so that it remains somewhat at a floating level while you change your strings. That means basically what happens is you'll save tuning this much of the strings. Right now it's here, right? So you'll have to retune at least 5 times, 6 times to get to the bass level which exists already. So right now, since we have a bass level, I'm going to just be using this little piece of wood, sort of put it under the bass plate there. So it's okay even if the Floyd is currently like that, that's fine, because the minute you replace the string and sort of bring it up to pitch, you will need to make adjustments, so that's okay. You can keep it to some baseline at least. Alright, so let's get the string cutters. I have a bunch of these string cutters, so I'm just gonna clip the strings right here. So this is what I normally do, I just snap the strings off. Okay, the second thing to do is take the same Allen key that you used to remove the nuts, to remove the locking nut, and put it right here, right? Just loosen these saddle screws as well. You don't have to remove it all the way out. And if you loosen it first with you using your Allen key, and then just use your fingers to sort of loosen the block a bit. Now with this guitar, what has happened is that I haven't changed strings. It's been about close to a year, because I was not here, I was not playing the guitar for too long, so I didn't want to just put fresh strings up. Okay, when you are starting to remove these strings, right, keep all the pieces together. Some of them can get quite sharp, and if if they're lying around, they might just poke you in the finger, or like when you sit down or something. It's not really fun. Okay, so we've got the bare-bodied guitar right now. As you can see, there's a bit of dust, fair bit of dust out here. Oh, by the way, you must have noticed that the wooden block that I used, I'm no longer using it. That's fine. You can always reuse it. Just use it there as that, like that. Okay, the Floyd does look okay. I may not have to use too much of oil, but I'm just going to use a little tiny bit of the intonation screws. And the fine tuners. Need to oil these bloody fine tuners. Try not to get any machine oil on the body, like I just did. Don't add too much oil because it will just attract a lot of dirt and dust again. Just use a little bit only. Okay, this is another problem point of the Floyd, which could do with some oiling. The more you oil this part, the less creaky your Floyd Rose Special will get. Because this part creaks. This little tremolo arm squeaks a lot if it's dry. So the minute you lubricate it, it's fine. Then it's just fine. Again, these are all things that I do on my guitar. Now, many of the people on the internet may not be doing all of this, but this is how I like my guitar set up, with love, with attention to detail and perfection, because that's the only way you're going to get a reliable playing instrument. Otherwise, you'll keep struggling with it going out of tune, with it, the string popping out, and many issues. Basically, Floyd Rose Specials have certain quirks to it. If you can work around it, then you're guaranteed to have a great playing tremolo. So first things first, I'm going to use a bit of lemon oil on the fretboard. I'll dab some oil on this and let it sit for about 2-3 minutes while I clean the body next, right? So this is how the lemon oil bottle looks. It's got an applicator here. I'm also cleaning the fretboard because A, it's quite dirty right now. I've played this for a long time without changing the strings also, so it's quite dirty. And B, although it's not that dry, the fretboard doesn't look dry, but it's also winter out here in North India where I am currently, and so in winter, you know, the moisture level in the air goes really down, and I don't want it to affect the fretboard basically, because I don't know when I'm going to change the strings again. These last frets are a bit of a pain to get to with this applicator. Okay, it smells very nice. So we're going to let the lemon oil set on it for 2-3 minutes. In the meantime, let's get the guitar polish and cleaner. So how you got to use this is, you just got to spray this a couple of times on any clean piece of cloth and get the solution onto the body, and don't get too much as a solution, and after you apply it everywhere, you need to go again on with the cleaner side, not the spray side. Just go over this and buff it a little bit. Just rub it so it gets your body, the guitar body gets a bit of a shine to it. So I've cleaned the body and the neck of the guitar. I can always do this even after the strings are set up. It almost looks brand new, almost. Right? Okay, now I'm going to use this rag to sort of get the gunk off the fretboard itself. So now that the oil, we've let the oil sit in for about 3-5 minutes, and now it's time to clean up all the dirt and grime. Trust me, if you do this regularly, guys, not only will your guitar play well, but it will also feel really well to play. Most of the time, I've seen a couple of my friends have guitars, but they're not into maintaining their equipment. And when I play their guitars, I usually notice that the fretboard is so dry and it's so boring that you don't even feel like playing the guitar. So while cleaning your fretboard with the lemon oil, remember, a little bit only goes a long way. You don't have to add too much unless it's really dirty. Like in my case, it is a bit dirty. Today I'm noticing it. Wow. So that's why I'm giving it an extra dab. Also, another thing, you got to use this lemon oil only on darker fretboards. You don't use this on a maple fretboard. Since this is rosewood, I'm using it. All my guitars are have rosewood fretboards, so I use this quite a lot. Alright, so you don't use this on a lighter wood neck, like a maple neck. Okay, use this on darker wood like rosewood, ebony. I don't know, there's something new called jatoba or something which Ibanez is using, so you can use it for darker colored woods basically. Alright, okay, another important thing you got to remember is that with all the strings gone, there's a high chance that your string insert block can come out. Alright, when you flip the guitar or something. That's why it's important to work in a clean space where you can see if anything has fallen off. See this. The string insert blocks just fall off. So you got to be careful about that. Okay, don't lose it.
Alright, so let's put in the insert blocks. Again, this doesn't matter, this can go in any string one can go in any one. You have to just remember that the dots are pointing down. Alright, we've got the string inserts in place. We've done with the polish and da-da-da-da. We've done with the oil as well. Now we have to put the strings on. So this is what I have. Diodario 942 nickel wound. But these are strings I've been using for a really long time. I mean Diodarios only. I'm very happy with them. Very happy with these strings. And the best part is it comes with some kind of a color code. It is lovely. I really like it. Although I know which string is which, I always consult this just for kicks. Many guitarists, what they do is they put the ball end, especially on a Floyd Rose. It actually is a better idea to put the ball end through your tuning keys first. So the ball end goes there, and the open end of the string goes into this after you cut it and everything. So basically you have to measure it and then cut it. But I usually don't do it that way. I just do it, I cut it off here and I put it here and I just do it the normal way. You know, which I guess I'm gonna just do it the normal way today. So first of all is the brass, which is a 6 string. This has to be cut. Okay, so there goes the ball end, and so make sure you seat this properly in the middle of the saddle. It has to be proper, right? It should be proper, otherwise there's a chance the string can slip out. Okay, you gotta leave a bit of slack, alright? Like some slack. You can't just pull it straight and do it the first time around. You need to keep some slack. Usually I like to keep about that much slack. That much. You know. So I'm gonna round it off here. Remember, you don't have to tune anything to pitch right now. It will all fall into place. Okay, we still have to do many things. So now to the next string. Okay guys, one important tip I remembered, and this is purely out of experience that I speak, and because of personally the problems that I had with strings popping out of Floyd Rose bridges. It's mostly at the G string. One important tip with stringing the G string is that since it is so thin, it usually doesn't, the block inserts don't really catch on to this really well. So what I normally do is, I twist the end of it a little bit. I twist it a bit. Basically make it like a double its thickness. Yeah, I make like a little hook at the end and I put that into the block saddle. This is saddle block. Okay, that's inside. Hey, come on, don't move too much. Many people also, what they do is they cut it off right here and they use this entire fat part, you know. Okay, so even for the last 2 strings, if you want, you can make a knot and stick those in. Basically these 3 strings have a larger chance of popping out when you're using your Floyd Rose. So the thicker you make it here on the saddle end, higher the chances are that the string will never pop out. Basically just that. So I'm going to do the same thing with these last 2 strings also, and I'll meet you. So I'm done with putting on all the strings. Now what's remaining is that I need to tune it so that you see I've left the bridge floating backwards. I'm not using that piece of wood anymore, simply because I feel that causes more of a hindrance than just doing it this way. It's fine if it falls behind, because the eventual string tension will pull it up to level and just at pitch. I'm 100% confident of that, because this is a guitar that I've set up myself, so I know how it works pretty fine. Before you go on to tune the guitar, you will have to set your fine tuners to the halfway point. Alright? Just do it right away so that you don't forget it later on. Why this is done is, this is because if you have to fine tune, maybe go flat, by going flat or by going sharp, it should be in the middle. If it's already down and you've done everything and you've tuned it to perfect pitch, then you realize that, oh shit, you can't go down or you can't go up, becomes a problem. So always keep this in the middle. The fine tuners should be in the middle. They should not be completely down, nor should they be completely up. Okay guys, one extremely important step in changing your strings on a Floyd Rose guitar. So once your strings are all in, and before you tune it and before you try to raise the bridge up and level it all up and call it a day, the most important thing to do is to stretch your strings. On any guitar, strings need to be stretched, fresh strings, new strings, right? If you don't stretch them, you bring it up to pitch and the Floyd Rose is all set. The next time you play a note or you do a couple of bends, the string will stretch automatically and it will throw you off pitch again, and you'll have to repeat the tune nonsense yet again. So this is how I stretch my strings. There are many people who prefer to use the whammy to stretch it and all. What I'm doing is I'm just gently flexing the string across all its length. Remember, it has to stretch even at the top. So you see how much the string has stretched? You see how it was before and how it is now? This is where string stretching helps. And do it a couple of times if you have to. Yeah, these wound strings you will need to pay a little more attention to, because this thing to stretch takes some time, because they're wound. They're not plain strings like your G, B and E. These are wound, so this will take some extra effort. So remember, stretch your strings. If you don't stretch your strings on a Floyd Rose while you're restringing, you will run into tuning issues. You will. This is applicable even if you have a tom bridge, even if you have a Tunomatic or a hardtail or whatever. Basically any string, just stretch it first. Another tip that I want to tell you is that most people generally tend to tune their guitars to pitch and retune it to pitch. But what I discovered works for me is that I just need to get this bridge to sort of come up. Okay, it can, right now it's a little dipping, it's dipping a little to the back, but that's just the point where I want it to be. Now I will start tuning to pitch. Before this I just wound it up. I just got enough tension so that it starts to rise, so that the bridge starts to rise a little bit. But now I will tune it to pitch. Slowly and steadily. And the sequence I'm going to use is also very important. Just before this, what I did was I just tuned everything 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in line. But this time, now when I tune it, I'll be going E, E, B, A, G, D. So basically E bagged. Okay, E, E, B, A, G, D. That's how you get the right balance. Then the trem won't be, it won't be wonky like that or like that, even minutely. It has to be straight with all the strings going there, and the string tension has to equal the spring tension. That's pretty much the physics behind the Floyd Rose. Alright, now I'm going to tune this to pitch. This is where my clip-on tuner really comes in handy. So I've got it at 440 Hertz. perfect. I'm going to keep this in standard tuning just the way it was. So now this guitar is pretty much in tune. Also, you have to tune it in the position that you're going to play it, alright? Not like flat on the ground. So it's pretty much in tune now. As you saw, see, the guitar strings are in pretty much pitch, alright? They're very close. Now what I do is you've got to look from this angle and see if the bridge is it like perfectly flat, or does it have a tilt towards the headstock or away from the headstock. Right now I can see that it's very minor, but there is slight tilt towards the headstock. So what I have to do is I got to turn this guitar backwards and use a screwdriver to get at those two screws at the claw, and I have to push them inside. I have to tighten them so the bridge drops behind. Right now the bridge is like that. When I tighten the strings from underneath, the bridge will go like that, and then I will tune it, and then it will just be fine, so that is one trick. Okay, quarter turn there. A quarter turn here. Now let's check. So you got to do this a couple of times till you get the bridge absolutely parallel to the body, with the strings also being in tune. So that is the equilibrium we need to strive towards. It's not that difficult. It's just a matter of another 5-7 minutes and we're pretty much done. So I adjusted the spring tension, and I also tuned the strings in, and they're all in tune right now, and the bridge is absolutely parallel to the body. This exactly is what we need. It needs to be parallel and not like that or like that. The bridge shouldn't be like that. It should just be parallel with the body. It needs to be parallel to the strings and the body like that. So many beginner guitarists usually have this question that how do I know whether my Floyd Rose bridge is parallel to the body or not? So here's the unadulterated look. Remember, this is after all the setup that we just did. So you see this? This is how it should be. It's parallel to the body. It's not teetering away from the headstock, nor is it tilted back like that. This is how a perfectly set up Floyd Rose bridge should look if you've done everything right. I'm not going to lock the nut yet. I'll just take it for a spin, do some bends and things like that, and basically let it all work out for another 3-5 minutes. Maybe once all that is done, I will give you a demo of how this guitar is sounding with fresh strings on. So it's been about 5 minutes or so, and I have checked the bridge level. The tremolo looks perfectly fine. It's floating properly. And I had to do a bit of fine tuning using the fine tuners here. Basically the E's are a little sharp, slightly sharp. So brought them up to level now. You can see it's an E. You can see that.
Now let's see if it's in tune. It is. A is D. Perfect. Perfect G. Ah, perfect B. Perfect E. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's how you change your strings on a Floyd Rose electric guitar. If you perform all the steps that I've mentioned in order, the way I have mentioned it, you will most probably never have an issue with an out of tune Floyd. Okay. The one very important part that you have to remember is that you need to stretch your strings. If you don't stretch your strings, you may spend maybe an hour or 2 hours just retuning all the time. Don't do that, guys. Stretch your strings. The job gets done faster, plus it's more reliable, and everything takes some time to settle in, right? Like, even I think the D is not, maybe there's still a bit of stretching that is happening. It will stretch. So by tomorrow, I can expect these strings to be out of tune by a couple of cents. But when I open up the locking nuts and I tune them up again using the fine tuners and all, it'll be perfect, and then there'll be no problem at all. That's what I find when it comes to my Floyd Rose Special guitar. If you pay attention to detail and you take care of certain things that you have to do, it will not fail you. It's not a bad tremolo at all. Usually it gets a very bad rap saying that, oh, Floyd Rose Specials suck, they are made of zinc. And yeah, it's made of zinc, but zinc is not, it's not made of paper, I mean, it's still a metal, and if you set up things right, I don't see why anything that is built for a specific purpose is going to fail. It can't. So that's all the video for today. I hope you learnt a thing or two about changing your strings on a Floyd Rose guitar. So if you have any questions and comments or queries, leave them in the comment box below, and I'll try my level best to reply to each one of you. Alright? Thank you. See you guys in the next video. Bye.